Good morning. Good morning. Let's wait for some people to connect. If anybody is awake at this time, it's Sunday morning. Here in the U.S. is Labor Day weekend. So I hope that you're having a beautiful Sunday and that you have some plans for today. Let's wait for a few more people to connect. Not that many are going to connect, but I prefer to do it live and to record the information so that it's available for anybody that wants to watch it later. And hello and good morning, Andra, and good morning, Rafaela. Just wait one more minute and then I'll start talking about what I want to share this morning. So this is available for everybody. Good morning, Steph. Connecting. Hello, Andrea. Hi. Okay, so let's start. This is going to be recorded anyway. Today's transmission is going to be in English. I hope I can do one in Spanish later today. Yesterday I received the printed version of my last book, The Symptoms of the Soul. It had been finished some time ago, and I was waiting for the right time to order a book because I always make sure that there are no mistakes, no errors that I need to fix. But no, everything is good. I'm really happy with how it looks, and I'm really happy with the presentation. And what I'm happier with is the feedback I am getting about this book, and it's in English, Los Síntomas del Alma, and it's in Spanish, Los Síntomas del Alma, and it is in English, The Symptoms of the Soul. And a few days ago, I had a session with a lady that had read the book, and these are her words, right? She said, Antonio, after reading your book, I understood the origin of the symptoms that had no explanation. I went to doctors, I had tests done, and they were telling me that I was okay. But I was not okay. I was feeling this symptom, I was feeling this other symptom. And once I read your book, all of these made sense to me. I was really happy about it because that is my motivation for writing the book, is to share concepts of spirituality, transmit the knowledge that we're a soul, and the soul is timeless. It doesn't understand time, that we reincarnate in this planet and many others. We reincarnate in this planet, but what happens is that we're affected by what I call the spiritual amnesia, which is what we don't remember, that we plan our lessons, we chose our parents, that there's karma that we need to pay, and karma is not punishment but the law of balance. So there's a lot of things that take place when we reincarnate, but we don't remember, we forget about it. Whenever we face those lessons, we start experiencing different things, right? We start feeling victims. We start feeling like this is too much for me to handle. I don't want to do this. And then we start experiencing traumatizing experiences and saying things that the soul is going to carry in future bodies. Also the type of death. If we had a traumatic death in a past life, most likely if we didn't process that death properly, those symptoms are going to follow us to the next life. Does that mean that we're going to be born with these symptoms? No. Antonio, but if you're calling it a past life, and that past life is done, that body died, and why are we feeling this now in this life and in our current body? What happens is that who carries all of those issues, the traumas and all of that stuff, is not the body, is the soul. So the soul, when it reincarnates, is not that it's born with the pain, it's not born with the trauma. That's at the subconscious level. And whenever we face a similar situation in this life, then the same symptom that we experienced back then in this other body is triggered, and we remember. So let me show you my book again. Some of you already know this is the Symptoms of the Soul, right? This is the presentation, and it's my book here, right? And this book has 240 pages. And I talk about, basically I'm transmitting here the concept of soul entrapment, soul fragmentation, the different types of death that we can have in past lives, and the symptoms, the most common symptoms that we bring to this body, timeless phrases, things that we say in past life. I said it before. If we had a past life in Egypt 3,000 years ago, for our souls, that just happened. The soul doesn't understand time. If you have a pending issue in Egypt, let's say you had a traumatic death, you were buried alive in Egypt, right? And at that moment, you were not able to process that event completely at the physical, emotional, mental level. You were focused maybe on saying, oh, this is not fair. Why am I being buried alive? What is going to happen with my kids? What is going to happen with my wife? Who's going to take care of that? Take care of them. And what I'm thinking about all of this, I am not paying attention to what is happening to my body. I'm not aware of what my body is going through. And then from one moment to the other one, I cannot breathe, I choke, and I die. So I was not able to process that death properly. I was not able to become aware of everything that took place. So what happens, right? For our soul, since it's a traumatic experience, part of our soul is trapped in that experience. Whenever we face a similar situation, our body is going to react the same way. What type of situations? Hey, you go on an elevator, go on a plane, on the subway, you start feeling the same way. People call it claustrophobia. That's a label, right? But you have the symptom. Hold on, let me turn on the fan. It's getting a little bit warm here. Okay. So, we're not born with, the soul is the one that carries all that stuff. And here, in my book, I share sessions, information for actual sessions. Names are changed and everything's changed here. But this is the actual dialogue where it's not like, oh, it is this way because Antonio says so. Oh, you're supposed to have this, and this type of symptom if you were burnt alive, if you were hanged, or if you were tortured. No, I'm sure the concept. Here are the cases that back up whatever I'm saying. I'm not inventing anything. I'm not discovering anything. You have people doing this, for a longer time. You go back to Brian Weiss, go back to Dolores Cannon. You also have my teachers, Aurelio Mejia, Jose Luis Cabuli, and you can go further back and you'll find the same thing. Even Michael Newton was running into the same situations. People experiencing physical, emotional, or mental symptoms that did not originate in this life, but in a previous life. So let's talk about symptoms or things that can happen in this life. I think in past videos, I talk about all the things that can happen in past life. But I'm going to share one that is, I don't want to say it's common, but it has happened enough times that we should pay special attention to this. What is one of the mechanisms of the mind in order to deal with painful events? When I say a traumatic event, it's something too painful for the mind. Let's talk about the mind for a moment, or for the soul to handle, and it uses mechanisms to deal with that event, with that pain. What do you think those are? We're going to talk about the mind for now. What do you think those are? What mechanisms would the mind use in order to deal with these painful events? What do you think they are? Anybody? Have you guys heard of multiple personality disorders? Right? What happened with people that, for example, right, during childhood, they were abused, they were mistreated, they were molested, or they were raped systematically. How does the mind deal with it? The mind of a kid deal with it, right? I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist, and I don't pretend to be one. But you have the multiple personality disorder. So the mind creates different personalities that deal with different types of events. And it acts like different people, even though it is the same person. Another mechanism, yes, you said, very good. Yes, anxiety, depression, right? So another mechanism of the mind to deal with painful events, with traumatic events, is disassociation. And for people that have been that have been, again, abused or mistreated, or I'm talking about abuse, molestation, rape, but there's some other traumas, and most of those that affect us now took place during our childhood. So, which is this other mechanism, disassociation? Do you disassociate from those events? It's like you disconnect. And what happened with those people that disconnect, that disassociate? They're not connected with their emotions. They're not connecting with them. That's the mind, okay? And I say that in my sessions, I don't work with the mind because, to me, this is my logic. I'm not saying that is the truth. The mind is associated with the brain. And when the brain dies, the mind dies, right? So I focus on the soul. The soul never dies. For the soul, life is only one. It never dies. So for the soul, again, life is only one with experiences in different bodies. So what we call past lives, for the soul, those are just memories in other bodies. So the soul doesn't understand anything like past. Everything is happening now. So what is the way that the soul deals with painful events? It fragments. Soul fragmentation. Wait, Antonio. What are you saying here? You've been talking about soul entrapment, and now you're talking about soul fragmentation. What is the difference, right? Okay. When we are trapped in one event, let's go back to the example in Egypt. You're trapped in that event. Part of your soul, part of your energy is trapped in that event. You have that energy with you, but it's trapped. Let me give you this example. Let's say that well, you have a car and you want to be proactive and you buy a spare battery, and you put that spare battery in the trunk of your car, you lock it, and then you say, okay, if I run out of, my battery goes bad, I have a spare battery in my trunk. So yeah, that's, you're in a road trip and your battery dies, and you say, okay, but I have a spare battery in my trunk. So let me go get it. Once you go to the trunk, you realize that you don't have the key to open the trunk. Your battery is there. The energy is there, is with you, but you don't have access to it. That is the same thing of soul entrapment. The energy is with you, but it's trapped in that event. In this case, this death in Egypt, and you don't have access to that part of your energy, but it's with you. So what is the difference with fragmentation? When the soul fragments, there is a part of you that breaks. Remember that the spirit is energy with consciousness. When we're talking about our energy, I'm talking about also our aura, right? This thing that you see around the body. So when we find an event that is too painful for the soul to handle, it's too traumatic, the part of the soul that doesn't want to feel breaks and leaves. Okay? And what happens? When it leaves, it can stay in the place what happened and doesn't continue the evolution of the rest of the soul. So if this event took place when you were 5 years old, that part of you is still 5 years old. If you were raped or molested when you were 5 years old and you're fragmented, hey, that part of your soul might be still hiding somewhere where that rape took place. What else? When you fragment, you don't have your energy with you. And what happens when you face different traumatic events in your life? What happens to those that were molested several times? I don't know, maybe I don't want to say father, grandfather, friend of the family, or a stranger. What happens to those? They fragmented several times. So what happens with people fragment over and over and over? Picture Swiss cheese, right? Our energy, our field, our shield that is supposed to protect us is not complete. It has holes in it. So we don't have access to 100% of the energy we're reincarnated with. Number one. Number two, we're going to be disconnected. we're not connected with ourselves. We're not connected with the main part of our soul. We're not connected with our emotions. That is a mechanism that the soul used in order to disconnect, in order not to feel. And I talk about this in my book. Let me see. So if you want to understand this concept even better, which page is it? 97, soul fragmentation. So that's why when people come to sessions, when people come for their own session, they don't come to me saying, Antonio, I'm fragmented, I need a session, right? Or Antonio, I went through this traumatic event, I am sure I might have fragmented. They don't say that. They bring symptoms, and they don't understand what those symptoms are. So common things that I see with people that are fragmented when they come for a session, and as I'm interviewing them, things that they're telling me, they tell me, Antonio, I don't feel present all the time. Antonio, sometimes I feel like I'm not here. I'm not connected to myself. Or Antonio, I cannot make contact with my emotions. You're speaking about emotions. It's they even say, Antonio, sometimes when I have intimacy with my partner, I'm not able to connect. I am not able to feel. And then you have men and women saying, I'm not able to get to an orgasm. I don't know what an orgasm is, some people say, because they're not connected. Why? Because the soul used that mechanism to disconnect, because something happened to them when they were. Doesn't mean that it only happens during childhood, and I'm not saying that it only happens when you were molested and raped. You can fragment in the womb. Souls that say, no, I don't. What's waiting for me out there is going to be so painful, because I know it's going to be painful. I know my mom and my dad have been arguing, and my dad has been treating my mom this way. I don't want to be born. You can fragment there. You can fragment even after you're born. You can fragment being an adult. What if you receive the news of somebody passing away or a car accident? The soul can fragment in different times. So, Antonio, you're going to ask me, right? Antonio, can the soul fragment in past lives? Absolutely. But the way I see it, I might be wrong, is that in a past life, if you're fragmented, when your body dies and you go to the light, all these fragments follow the soul, the main portion of the soul, to the light. The way I see it is fragmentation in the past life are not going to cause symptoms. Here, if you were raped or you had a traumatic event in a past life, yes, the event is going to bring some symptoms, but not the fragmentation itself. So when I talk about fragmentation, I pay more attention to this life's event. And what do we need to do? Well, that's part of the technique. I'm not going to tell you the technique, because if I tell you what I have to do, you will not understand it. If you don't understand it, people might say, I don't want to deal with that, or I'm scared, and it's nothing like that. The idea is that we put ourselves back together, guided by the person facilitating the session, hypnotists, hypnotherapists, facilitating the session. That's what we need to do, bring all those fragments. But again, I just wanted you to hear this about soul fragmentation and think, not just do this exercise. Think of how many traumatic events you had in your life. Okay, identify those events. The next thing you need to do is, do you remember? I mean, you remember the traumatic event. Do you remember what you went through at this moment? Or you have like blank spots, like missing time? Some people might tell you, remember when we were kids, we had this issue, and some people say, I don't remember. Or what happens to those that come for sessions and say, Antonio, I don't remember most of my childhood. That's a red flag right there, So, again, think of traumatic events And remember how you felt. Some people who say, and while this was happening, where is your soul? I'm outside, somewhere else. I'm not here. I went out. I checked out. And if this is what you felt, talk to the part of your soul. Explain to the part of your soul that it just happened many, many years ago, or if it's recently. But you need to do the work first. That fragment, as my teacher Jose Luis Cabudi will say, if you don't do the work first, if that fragment of your soul doesn't feel it is safe to come back, it's not going to come back. So you need to do the work first. Work on yourself, I mean. So anyway, this is a short video. It's Sunday. I don't want to bother you so much. Thank you for the support. Buying my book. Again, The Symptoms of the Soul. And you can find it in Amazon. It's paperback and Kindle. And if you buy it and if you read it, hey, let me know. Shoot me an email. If you have any questions. I like to interact with people, and I like when people ask questions. I like when people want to learn. This is what I like to do. Is I like sharing knowledge. If you think you want to learn this type of technique, hey, register to one of my classes. Antonio, I'm not sure if I want to learn this. Hey, register to one of my workshops. I have one coming in December, and this is a new one. I have not facilitated that kind of, or taught that kind of workshop before. And the name of the workshop is, you guess it, The Symptoms of the Soul, where I'm going to give a lot of explanation about this. It's going to be like maybe 1 hour presentation, PowerPoint, because what people want to experience in the workshops is not watching a PowerPoint. It's not listen to me explaining this concept. They want to experience things. So in this type of workshops, yes, I do share this concept, but then I facilitate live sessions with volunteers from the audience. So if you're thinking about watching this session live and how it works, if you have one of those unexplained symptoms and you would like to have your session, you can attend and volunteer. And because I start calling names, so in those workshops I can facilitate around 4 or 5 sessions, and we go from 10 in the morning Eastern time, 10 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon, with breaks and lunch break. So again, if you don't want to, or you're not sure if you want to learn this technique first, hey, go check this workshop, see if that's what you want to do. And if you want to register for this type of, to learn this type of technique, I have a class in December, an online class. I have a class with Alba Wyman, my friend and colleague Alba Wyman, in September. We start September 18th in Marysville, Maryland. And there's one spot left. But for that spot, there's no room. So the price of the course includes the class, the extra activities, because this is a retreat, and meals, but there's no room. I've been told there's a hotel nearby, so you can stay at another hotel, but there's only one spot left, and we start on the 18th. Anyway, I'm also going to start teaching this technique that I learned from my teacher, Jose Luis Cabudi. In Spanish, the name is Terapia de Vidas Pasadas, is past lives therapy. I've been teaching it to people that took introspective hypnosis, because I don't want to say I teach it in a different way. I'm respecting exactly the way he taught it, and I'm sharing the same material, but the duration of the class is different, because I want people to have some experience already in hypnosis, and this is why I have been only teaching it to people that took introspective hypnosis, because in introspective hypnosis I'm already sharing some of these concepts included in past life therapy. But if I open it for other people, yes, the requirement is that you need to be a practitioner already, and you need to have some experience already. The book can be bought on, thank you for the question. My book, you can buy it on Amazon. Go to Amazon.com. It is there. You go to my website, and my website has the pictures of my books. When you click on it, it takes you to the Amazon website. That's the easiest, cheapest, and fastest way to get it. If you register for the class in Maryland in September, I'm bringing some books there. I'm bringing the 3 of them. I have 3. I have My Soul's Purpose. That was my first book. I have Guiding Lost Souls. My second book, Guiding Lost Souls, is about sharing the proper way, in my opinion, and my teacher's opinion, to help lost souls go to the light. These lost souls that manifest while we're having sessions with our clients. Attachments, right? And then I have this one. So I'm gonna bring the 3 of them to Maryland in case you want to purchase it there. They will be there. Anyway, thank you for joining. I hope this information is useful. Just do this exercise. Go remember the traumatic events that you had in your life, and then remember how you felt, and work on you before you ask that fragments of your soul to get back to you. One thing that I forgot to mention, as a consequence of soul fragmentation, as I said, you don't have all your energy with you, and you're gonna look like Swiss cheese. But what happens? Your energy, your shield, protects you from other energies, so you become vulnerable to other energies, attachments. Symptoms that soul fragmentation can cause is chronic fatigue. People feeling also disconnected. People that faint frequently, could be fragmentation. Not connected to their soul, not connected to their emotions, not feeling present. And I talk about all those symptoms in my book. So, Victoria, you have a question. Antonio, where can I sign for the December class? Victoria, go to my website, antoniosangio.com. Go under courses, and list of courses. You're gonna see there not only the classes that are coming in the US. I'm also going to New Zealand and Australia, but also listing there the workshops, online and live. Live workshops will be in New Zealand, so you can register there. This is gonna be the last class of the year, December. And the next one, by the way it looks, probably it's going to be April. Who knows? Because February is going to be in New Zealand, February and March, and I'm also going to be in Australia, coming back. We're thinking, also wanted to let you know this. I'm going to talk a little bit of everything today. Sorry about that. I had scheduled a tour to Peru, to Cusco. We call it the Rebirth of the Soul. We did it with a group in 2020, before the pandemic, and I tried to organize it for this year, but the conditions were not the best, so we decided to postpone that trip. And I didn't have a date for 2023. But some people started contacting me, especially people the people that took my class, people that are in the mentoring group, people that went to the workshops. They said, Antonio, when are you doing this? I really want to go to Cusco. And so when are you going to schedule this again? So we're thinking about, this is the idea, we're thinking about the last week of March next year. So if you're thinking about it, if this is something you would like to consider, it is not just a tour, because if you just want to tour Peru or Cusco, you can go with anybody. This is a different type of tour, more spiritual, and then we'll do exercises, and the idea is to also do the regressions and to start in Cusco with a workshop. It was wonderful last time. The ones that went to Cusco were still connected. We became like a family. So again, keep that in mind. It is not listed on my website, but hey, use the contact form in my website. San Antonio, I'm interested in, going to Cusco. We created a Facebook group to speak about that trip and to share information. So once you send me an email, use the contact form on my website, antoniosangio.com. I'll add you to the Facebook group in case you're interested. And let's see what happens in March. And Victoria says, I'm planning to go and see you in Alba next year, and I want to get ready for that. Awesome. We don't know what's going to happen next year, Victoria, when it comes to live classes. Why am I saying this? And I was talking to Alba about it. It has been challenging to put this group together in September. Why? And I'm going to give you my theory, right, of what is happening. Number one, people don't feel comfortable committing to a class so far ahead because they think, well, what about if we have another outbreak? What about COVID? What about monkeypox? Or we don't know what's going to happen. So people want to wait until kind of the last minute to join. They don't want to take any risks. Now, let's see this from the perspective of the place. In this case, let's say Bon Secours, right, which is where we're going to host this retreat. They have so many cancellations that they cannot risk it. So whenever we say, we want to organize an event here, they said, okay, how many rooms would you like for your event? So I don't know how many people I'm going to have. Yeah, but you need to let me know, in case you want to have room, how many rooms you want to have. Let's say, let's book 10, 15, 17. And then we're responsible for those books regardless. It's a contract. We can return, I think, like up to 20% of rooms in case we don't fill them out, but it's a contract. So we're responsible. Let's say that we were expecting for 20 people to come, and at the end only 10 show up. We're responsible for the other 10, right? So that's the challenging part. And then that's why we have strict rules when it comes to refund. And it's not that you're losing your money. It's not like you're saying, Antonio, I'm not able to come, so I'm going to lose my refund. No. What I'm still doing is, yes, if you don't come, let's say you cancel within a month, I'm still paying for your room and your meals, but I don't want you to lose your money. So you can use that to join any of my, let's say, online classes. You're using that money you pay, that credit, to join my online classes. You're not losing money. So that's why, Victoria, I'm saying we don't know what's going to happen next year. We want to play this by ear with Alba, see if we're going to organize another live class or when. But I'll make sure I record and I do lives from that event in Maryland, so you guys get an idea of how it is and how it would be if we happen to schedule it for next year. Anyway, thank you again for watching this video. Thank you for your patience and for following me. I'll try to also upload videos to YouTube as well. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Bye-bye.